Now, early in the morning, on the first day of the week, some of the women followers of Jesus went to Jesus' tomb carrying spices, and they wondered who would roll the stone away from the tomb. The stone, which was very large, was already rolled away, but there was no body of Jesus. Then 2 men dressed in clothes that gleamed like lightning stood there, and the women were afraid and bowed down. And the men said, "Why are you looking for the living among the dead? He is risen. Don't you remember that he said that the Son of Man would be turned over to sinful men and be crucified, and then on the 3rd day he would rise again from the dead?" So Mary Magdalene, Mary the mother of James, and Joanna and the other women went back to the 11 and the others and told them what they had seen. But the apostles did not believe the women, thinking that what they were saying was nonsense. Yet Peter ran to the tomb, and Peter saw the strips of linen, but there was no body of Jesus, and Peter wondered what had happened to Jesus. Now that day 2 of Jesus' followers were walking along the road to Emmaus, the village of Emmaus, which was about 7 miles from Jerusalem, and they were discussing. And as they were discussing, Jesus came alongside them and began talking with them, but they were kept from recognizing Jesus. And Jesus asked, "What are you talking about?" And they said, "Are you a visitor to Jerusalem? Don't you know what has happened to Jesus there? Jesus was a prophet. He was mighty in word and deed before God and all the people, and we had hoped that he was the one who would redeem Israel, but the rulers and the teachers of the law, the chief priests, they turned Jesus over to be crucified." And the man was downcast, and Jesus said, "Why are you so foolish and slow of heart to believe all that the prophets had said?" And then Jesus went through the scriptures, and starting with Moses and then through the prophets, Jesus explained to them what was written in the scriptures about him, how the Christ would have to suffer these things and then enter his glory. And as they were walking along and approached the village, Jesus acted as if he was going to be going on further, and because it was evening, they urged him to stay with them, and Jesus did. Then at the table, Jesus took bread, and he gave thanks for it, and then he broke it, and he gave some to them, and then their eyes were opened, and they recognized Jesus, and then Jesus disappeared from their sight. And they said, "Were not our hearts burning within us along the road as he opened the scriptures to us?" And then they went back to Jerusalem and to the 11, who said, "It is true, Jesus has risen and has appeared to Peter." So the 2 told them what happened along the Emmaus road and how they recognized Jesus when Jesus broke the bread. And as they were discussing, Jesus appeared to them in the room. And they were afraid. They thought that they had seen a ghost. And Jesus said, "Why are you troubled, and why the doubts? See, a ghost does not have flesh and bones like I have." And Jesus showed them his hands and his feet, but they still did not believe because of amazement. And then Jesus said, "Give me something to eat." And they gave him some broiled fish, and he ate. And that's the story of the resurrection from Luke's Gospel.